My wife had her second major cancer surgery. They gave her 10% chance to live. Her weight went from 129 to 89. I want to pause here and tell you, if you want some great advice, listen to your spouse. Nobody knows you any better, loves you any more, wants to see you succeed any more, be any more honest with you. My wife's not only somebody I love dearly, she's my best friend. We've been married 52 years, and a summer ago I said to the guy on the golf course, yeah, I've been married to my best friend. He said, your wife's not your best friend. He said, your dog is. I said, you're wrong, my wife is. He said, well then try this. Lock your wife and your dog in the trunk of the car, come back in 2 hours and see which one's happy to see.
They have the meat, sorry. The meat. Sorry. He's going.
In other words, I've been in situations where things don't go well, where the alumni get upset, where they feel you're too old, the game passed you by, all the negative things you hear. I'm in an airport after that 1 year, and the guy come up and said, anybody tell you look like Lou Holtz? I said, happens to me all the time. He said, really makes you mad, doesn't it? The point is, you're going to get knocked down. And you can succeed when no one believes in you. You have no chance to succeed if you do not believe in yourself. I can't begin to tell you how many times I had to give myself a pep talk, get down on my knees and pray to the good Lord for the courage and the strength to provide the right leadership in difficult times. That's your obligation. You're going to get knocked down. Things aren't going to go particularly well. And get rid of all the excuses why you can't do something. A few years ago, I was in Arkansas. We're going to go play Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl. And I had to suspend 3 athletes that had scored 78% of our touchdowns. They took me to court to get an injunction where they would be allowed to play. And the Attorney General from Arkansas represented me, Bill Clinton. Later became President Clinton. He did a great job in court. We won the case, but I lost a football team. Nobody thought we had a chance to win. We became the largest underdog there's ever been in a major bowl. And 4 days before the game, I had a team meeting, and I said to the team, I know why we can't win. Every day I read about the great players from Oklahoma going to play. Every day I read about the great players from Arkansas that are not going to play. So I know why we can't win. I've never read a positive comment about anybody in this room, so I know. Tell me why we can, not why we can't. Nobody said anything for a while. Finally, a young man got up. He said, Coach, we have the #1 defense in the country, which we did. He said, so we aren't going to get beat near as bad as everybody thinks. But it was a step in the right direction. We had a great competitive quarterback, great offensive line, great back. When they left the room, it was a different team. Why? They focused on why we could do something. Instead of listening to everybody tell us why we could. That football team was the largest underdog there's ever been in a major bowl 4 days later. Beat the #1 team in the country, 31-6, to win the national championship for Arkansas. Except the voters gave it to Notre Dame instead of us. But in any event, I'm not bitter about it. But just get rid of all the excuses. And, you know, when I'm in Notre Dame, one of the great victories we had was in the Cotton Bowl in the Sugar Bowl. And don't let other people control your attitude. You're going to hear negative things. You're going to hear negative people bitch and moan all the time. It's like I'm on TV with a guy named Mark May. He's a beautiful guy, a great guy. But we have a difference of opinion. He was a player, I was a coach. He made suggestions, I made decisions. He signed a paycheck on the back, I signed it on the front. He showered after work, I showered before work. You know, we just have a difference of opinion. You can't let other people and so we're going to play Florida. We're an underdog in the game. We eventually won it, but I took my wife, my 4 children to Orlando when I sent our team home to be home for Christmas for 2 days. I take my wife, my family out to dinner. We have 4 children. They're all girls but 2. I'm real proud of that fact. These are all true stories. And I'm at dinner, and the waiter came up and he recognized me. He said, you're the Holtz head coach of Notre Dame, aren't you? And I said, yes, and I took out my pen thinking he wanted an autograph. He said, let me ask you a question. What's the difference between Notre Dame and Cheerios? I said, I don't have a clue. He said, Cheerios belong in a bowl, Notre Dame doesn't. So, you know, in that position, you're competitive, and I got mad, and it ruined the evening for a while. And my wife said, you're gonna let somebody you never met before, you're never gonna see again, doesn't care a thing about you, ruin this evening. She said, you're smarter than that. And my attitude changed. I said, he's not gonna ruin this evening. A little bit later, I called him back over and I said, son, let me ask you a question. What's the difference between Lou Holtz and a golf pro? He said, I don't have a clue. I said, a golf pro gives tips, which he found out when the meal was attitude, but it's your attitude that affects you. Second point, there's only 4 parts to the plan. It is focus on your purpose. What are you trying to do? You're trying to do 2 things. I know we have entrepreneurs from all over Ireland. You have 2 purposes. You're trying to give people what they need. You're trying to satisfy the needs of the customer. You're trying to make a profit. When I came to Notre Dame, I had 2 mandates. Graduate and win. Not put them in the pros, not make them happy, graduate and win. All my focus should be, how do we graduate, how do we win? All your focus should be, what do the customers want, and how can I help them get it better than anybody else, and how do I make a profit? It's common sense. Now this story is basically true, but I'll embellish it a little bit. The first time I used common sense was in the 7th grade. I had a nun named Sister Mary Harriet. She was the habit of Sisters in Notre Dame. And she disliked me with pretty good justification, because there was a time Catholics could not eat meat on Friday the entire year round. I don't like fish. So every Friday I'd complain, I wish the apostles had been ranchers rather than fishermen. Well, be a vegetarian. A vegetarian is an old Indian word which stood for bad hunter. So I just believe. Then I'd ask her a question, she would answer. Why did Paul keep writing to Corinthians when he never wrote them back? You know. One day we had tests, and it was a big test. I finished for everybody else. I started looking around out of boredom because I didn't want to look at a blank paper. She thought I was trying to cheat. She hollered in front of the whole class, Lou Holtz, I even suspect you of cheating. I'm taking 10% off your grade. I got out the textbook and said, 90 sounds good to me. Let's stay focused on what you're doing. And understand this, people's needs change. You must change to meet the needs of the people. Whatever they want. You look at any successful business. It's in business for one thing, to help the customer get what they want. You look at the top Fortune 500 companies 50 years ago, compare with the top Fortune 500 today, a lot of them aren't the same. Why? People's needs change. And people didn't change to meet the needs of the people. So I always look at it and say, what do the customers want? How can I help them get better than anybody else? And how do I make a profit? I always looked, how do we graduate? When I came to Notre Dame, we moved our study hall from the classroom to the library. There was one way in the library, one way out. Where do the girls go? The library. Where do the good students go? The library. We moved study hall to the library. The one thing I will brag about, and the only thing I'm real proud of, I'm the only coach in the history of football to win the national championship and win the graduation rate the same exact year. And that's why we moved in the library. Make whatever changes you need. Don't change. Say, well, let's try this. No. Whatever changes we need to help them. Point number 3, be a dreamer. Ladies and gentlemen, Martin Luther King made one of the 10 greatest speeches in the history of mankind. He stood up and said, I have a dream. Motivate people, inspire people, and change the country for the better. Do you think that speech would have the same effect? And Martin Luther King stood up and said, I have a strategic plan on this. Everybody needs 4 things in your life. If you don't have 4 things in your life, you're going to feel tremendous for it. Everybody needs something to do. Everybody needs someone to love. Someone to love you. Everybody needs someone to believe in. In my case, it's God. And everybody needs something to hope for. See, ladies and gentlemen, having something to hope for is what dreams are all about. Decide what you want to do. Remember the word win. Win stands for what's important now. Decide what you want to do. Ask yourself 25 times a day, what's important now. So evaluate the past. Focus on the future. Take what you have to do in the present. And don't make the mistake I made. I've done a lot of dumb things, but I don't regret it. Let me tell you the one thing I truly regret. I came to the University of Notre Dame, the last game before I got here, Miami beating us 58-7. We just to win the national championship. For 9 straight years, we went to a January 1 bowl, the sugar and cotton, the orange and the fester. Nobody's done it before, nobody's done it since. We took that program on top and we maintained it. It's a thing I truly regret. There's a rule in life that says you're either growing or you're dying. A tree's either growing or it's dying. So is grass, so is a berry, so is a business, so is a person. Doesn't have a thing to do with age, has everything to do, am I trying to get somewhere or I'm trying to maintain? And the more successful you are, you say, well, let's just not risk it. Let's maintain this. When I left the University of Notre Dame, I never thought I'd coach again. I thought I was tired of coaching. And where do you go from Notre Dame? According to my mother, you go directly to heaven. You sit by the Pope. You don't coach it. Then I went to live in a town with the average age of deceased. I wasn't tired of coaching. I was tired of maintaining. And the more successful you are, the greater the risk to say, let's not take any risk. Let's just go along. Everything's pretty comfortable. And I'll tell you, when you do that, you have nothing to hope for. You never have any new ideas. You have no excitement. You have no enthusiasm. You have no reason to celebrate. That's why it's so critical to have someone to, something to do, someone to love, someone to believe in, something to hope for. We talked about attitude, and I'm not going to talk long. They only gave me a few minutes. Talk about attitude, sense of purpose, and being a dreamer. But point number 4 is the most important one. How do I have meaningful relationships with people? How do I lift people up and not pull them down? We have 2 types of people, those who lift up and those who pull down. We have managers who lift people up and others pull them down, coaches, teachers, spouses. Are you going to lift up or are you pulling people down? And how do I make good choices? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you right now, I'm going to give you 3 rules. It's the only 3 rules I had for our football team, the only 3 rules I had for our children. And I'm an old man. Now my birthday candles cost more than the cake. And as I mentioned, I don't buy green bananas anymore. I'm so old. But in all these years, I've never needed a 4th rule. These 3 rules have covered everything for 40-some years. Rule number 1, just do right. Do what's right and avoid what's wrong. That's all. Do right. I think it's wrong to find a teammate's wallet before he lost it. I think it's wrong to practice sexism, racism, spousal abuse. I think it's wrong to be bitter. We all had reasons to be bitter, to be upset at society, at a spouse, something. You can't go through life being bitter. And then when you pass away, your spouse has to hire 6 pallbearers because you don't have friends. I'm not saying we don't have right to be bitter, but you got to put that behind you and move on. I could give you all kinds of examples where if you allowed yourself to be bitter, and all you do is destroy yourself. It's the only joke I tell. My wife gets mad when I tell it. Guy's in the hospital. He's 84 years of age. His wife Ethel's with him. So Ethel, I remember we first got married. I got fired from 2 jobs, and every time you're there, encourage me, support me, and tell me how good I was. Then I joined the Army. He joined the nurse corps so he could be with me. And I remember when I was wounded, you're right there with me, encourage me, support me, and believing in me. And after the service, I started 5 businesses. They all failed. And every time you're there, encourage me, support me. Here I am, 84 years of age in the hospital and sick. You're still with me. I said, I want you to know I've come to the conclusion you're bad luck. Rule number 1, just do right. Rule number 2, do everything to the very best of your ability. At the time of life, that's all. Not everybody can be All-American. Not everybody can be first team. Everybody can be the best they can be. I coached for Woody Hayes at Ohio State. We won the national championship. And one thing I learned from Woody Hayes, when you're in a leadership role, your obligation not to be well-liked, not to be popular. Your obligation is to make people the very best they can be. And that's by believing in them and having standards for them. And one standard that everybody can achieve is being the very best that they can possibly be. You have too many people in leadership role are insecure. You have too many single parents who want their children to believe in them, and they want their security to come from their children, their acceptance. No. Our obligation, make them the very best they can be, and that's by having standards, not by being their best friend, not by making their life easy, not by giving them everything they want. The last rule we had is simple, and that is to show people you care. You walk in the room, gratitude, hey, here I am, look at me, it's all about me. Gratitude, there you are, how can I help you? I love golf. I'm a member of Augusta. I got a golf cart down at Lake Nona where Graham McDowell plays with the men's group, some I played with him. I got a bumper sticker there that said, Jesus loves you. Everybody else thinks you're an asshole. You've got to reach out to people. Do the right thing. Do the best you can. Show people you care. That's the only 3 rules you ever need. Why? Because everybody you meet, every customer, every spouse, every employee, has 3 questions about you mentally. I don't care whether you're in Ireland or whether you're in South Bend or whether you're in California. 3 questions everybody asks. Question number 1, can I trust you? My wife and I have been married together 104 years. 52 apiece, but together 104. Because I can trust her, she can trust me. Ladies and gentlemen, all relationship has to start with trust. Not just with you and them. They got to be able to trust each other. And there's only one way in this world you can ever generate trust among a group of people. When everybody does the right thing. That's why it's so important to do the right thing. Why? So that you will have trust. That's it. Rule number 2. Question everybody asks, second question. Are you committed to excellence? Oh, you can have all the slogans you want. First will be best, then will be first. You send a message whether you're committed to excellence by the standard you have. How clean is it? You know, when I came to Notre Dame, we didn't have all these beautiful facilities. The facilities weren't very good, but I'll tell you this. We made them neat. I went through the history and found this sign that said, play like a champion today. We put it up over the entranceway and said, everybody's going to hit it. You're going to remember your commitment to excellence, not only to your family and to your teammates and to Notre Dame, but you owe it to the thousands of people that went before us that made Notre Dame very special. That there has to be a commitment to excellence in everything you do. A few years ago, we didn't win every single game at Notre Dame, yet we won the overwhelming majority. I'll never forget one time we're ahead 16-0. We get beat by Stanford, a game we should have never lost. I want to remind you, all these stories are absolutely true. I went home, I was devastated, I can't be around. And she left me a note not long ago and said, Lou, I can't please everybody in the world, so I'm going to stop trying. I'm going to please one person a day. The day's not your day, and tomorrow doesn't look real promising. She doesn't do interviews. She's done one interview in her life. That's because that had to do with cancer. They said to her, what'd you learn from having cancer? She said, I learned how much my family loved me. We didn't love her anymore, we showed it. You don't know, you're never going to meet anybody again that doesn't need a smile, need a kind word, doesn't need encouragement. And that's all I do. You do the right thing, you always have trust. You do everything the best of your ability, everybody going to know you're committed to excellence. If you always show people you care, you don't have the problem. Look how good this country would be, or any other country, if our politicians followed those 3 rules. How about the church? Just do the right thing, do the best you can, show people you care. It's not that complicated. Now, I fool around with magic a little bit. That's one of my goals, learn how to do. I like to do a simple little trick for you. Just like any other newspaper, you have front page for people who want to read the news. You have the comics for people who can't read. And you have the editorial page for people who can't think. But I want you to do this. I want you to take 2 people. I want you to take 2 people. Take somebody you love, admire, and respect in your organization, and take somebody you have a problem with. It can be anybody in this world. Put these 3 questions on both people like I do with the athletes. Can you trust them? or no? Are they committed to excellence? Yes or no? They care about you and the organization, yes or no? I used to do this with a phone book when I was younger, but I guarantee the person you admire and respect, you just said yes to all three questions. Person you got a problem with, you pinpointed the problem. Give you a can. How did he do that? Perfectly, I thought. But it didn't. I wake up no night screaming because I can't figure it out either. But if you go by that statue over there, Lou Holtz, I guess they need a place for the pigeons to land. Don't look at that. Look at the three words that are on the pedestal. I didn't put them there. Notre Dame and our players put them there, and that was trust, commitment, and love. That's the core values. That's the one thing we will not compromise that we're going to have. And while I don't care what phase of my life, what I'm doing, those are the only three rules. Why is that important? Because somebody's going to violate those rules. And when they do, you say, I don't believe that's the best you can do, and I want to know why. You never attack the performer. You attack the performance. By having those three rules, it always enabled us to attack the performance and never the performer. And also remember, when people need love and understanding the most, is usually when they deserve it the least. When I stood up here, I knew 10% of you. Wouldn't remember 10% of what is said 10 minutes after I said it. I hope for the last 30 minutes, you give me your most prized possession. I want to share with you the things I truly believe. And I got to close. In 1996, we went over and we played the Naval Academy. We went to a monastery that was built in about the 12th century. In addition, we went to Trinity College with our team, and we got there, it was a dilapidated building, a huge cemetery. A young man by the name of Alton Maiden came up with this poem. I don't know whether he copied it or not, but we'd have a luncheon before a football game, 3,000 people, and 4 athletes would get up and talk about their experience at Notre Dame. And then I would talk about the game. And like when we played Miami, the priest got up, and he said, before I give invocation, Coach Holtz, I want you to know I'm a Catholic priest. I'm the team chaplain for Miami, the team we're playing the next day. And we believe in God, and God doesn't care who wins this game. Let us pray. When I got up to speak, I said, Father, I agree with you. God doesn't care who wins the game, but I want to promise you his mother does. And Alton Maiden got up, and he read this poem. It said, I've seen death stare at me with my own eyes in a way many people cannot know. I've seen death take a lot of people and left me here below. I've heard many mother cries, but death refused to hear. In my life, I've seen a lot of faces filled with many tears. He said, after death has come and gone, the tombstone sits there for a person to see. But it's no more than a symbol of a person's memory. Under the person's name, it read the date of birth, dash, the date he passed. The only thing about the tombstone, the important thing is the dash. Yes, I see the name of the person, that might forget. I read the date of birth and death, but even that might not stick. But thinking about the person, I can't help to think about the dash. Because that represents a person's life, and that will always last. So when you begin to charter your life, make sure you're on a positive path. Because people may forget your birth and death, they'll never forget your dash. A lot of people can be successful, make money, and they die. It ends. But you're an entrepreneur, you're a coach, you're a teacher, you're also significant. Significance when you help other people be successful. And you think how many people's hopes and dreams and ambition to educate their children, buy a home, buy a car, and take a vacation is contingent upon your leadership and your ability to make decisions. It's in the best interest. What an awesome responsibility, but at the same time, how rewarding it is to know that you help other people. And I would ask our players, if you didn't show up, who would miss you and why? If you had not come here, we would have sure missed you. When you go home, will your family have missed you? And if your company went out of business, would anybody miss you? The only people you ever miss are those that add value. If American Airlines went out of business, you wouldn't miss them because you go fly Delta and they're going to be late and lose your luggage. They're all the same. Disney is different. Make sure your business is different and unique. If you want to be happy for an hour, eat a steak. I'll be happy for a day, play golf. I'll be happy for a week, go on a cruise. It'll be going on a cruise like being in jail, except you have a chance to drown, but that's what I'll be happy for a month, buy a new car. I'll be happy for a year, win the lottery. I'll be happy for a lifetime, add value to other people's lives. Thank you for having me.